Is language a method of communicating ideas? Yes, in part. But it's even more important to remember that language is part of the way that we make sense of our own lives in our interior monologues. It's the way we understand our own motivations. It's the way we plan for the future, even just thinking about what you're doing tomorrow. The choice of words we use, it's not so important. It's not so crucial in avoiding offending other people. It's very important to be aware of the words you're using when you're reasoning things through privately in your own interior monologue. You very much can talk yourself into something. You can talk yourself into believing something, maybe without noticing that you're doing it. In this sense, I would, advise all of you to be much more aware of your choice of words when you're not speaking out loud. Had two different people writing into me asking the same question from two very different angles. One commenting on Discord, you can join the discussion below. One more of a personal friend in private correspondence. And whether you word it one way or another, the point is this. Aren't I being terribly unjust in condemning the entire category of what they consider leisure activities, self-indulgence, fun? Isn't my view of the world terribly demanding and ascetic? Isn't it demanding that each and every one of you spend every moment of your day in pursuit of your own highest goals to become the best person you can be, and so on and so forth? Isn't that unreasonable given that they say there's sort of a spectrum of self-indulgence? There's a spectrum of pleasures, and that there are some things I admit onto this spectrum. I don't reject the whole spectrum entirely. Therefore, my critique of any one part of the spectrum is null and void. Now, I disagree with every single step in this reasoning, even the idea that what you call leisure exists on a spectrum. I reject the idea that what you call leisure exists, frankly. Maybe a topic for another video. But, the idea that cocaine is in any way similar to me having sex with my girlfriend, completely disagree with it. I completely reject this. I regard using cocaine as something self-destructive, poisonous, toxic, causing brain damage. I don't even regard it as pleasure, right? I dispute the most fundamental premise here. Okay, I reject it entirely. And I think none of those things are a valid description of having sex with my girlfriend. I'm just specifying her so we don't have extraneous questions coming up here. I think once in a while people do raise a question. Well, when you say sex, what about someone who's a sex addict and has sex with 10,000 people in a year or something like this? All right, we're leaving that aside. So we're talking about within the bounds of normal daily activities of sex. I completely reject the analogy. I completely reject the line of reasoning that makes this seem plausible to you. Okay? There are people who will talk about other leisure activities, whether it be skiing or snowboarding or playing video games. I've had many, many people writing into me with this kind of line of reasoning about playing video games. Like, if you're okay with having sex and you're okay with eating food, like choosing to eat food that doesn't taste awful as opposed to taste does, then you must admit that video games exist on this same spectrum. No, I don't. I regard video games for a grown adult as something self-destructive. I really do. Okay? I really do regard the waste of your time when you're playing video games and going skiing as something that is completely different from and not in the same category as having sex with your girlfriend. All right? So on a really basic level, what I'm asking you to do here is not really to question my words or your words, but to question your way of thinking. Because you're already deeply committed to some kind of rationale, some kind of self-justification. If you think that an adult sitting on the couch playing a child's entertainment video game system, playing Mario 64 for 12 hours a day, if you think that is in any way on the same spectrum with eating food, drinking water, breathing air, or me having sex with my girlfriend, you're just profoundly, fundamentally wrong. And the reason I don't want to really talk about this, the reason I don't want to make this video, is that you mostly get into semantics. In English, the word semantics gets a bad name. People say, oh, if it's a semantic discussion, somehow it's trivial, it's not a real conversation. No, semantics also matter, but it means we're getting down into kind of boring details of the precise meanings of words and what it is we want to discuss. Okay, my friend Mohammed, he's a personal friend of mine. He's appeared on the channel in the past. I think of him as a very intelligent, very gifted guy. Flawed, has his limits, no doubt. He's not equally gifted and equally intelligent in all areas. None of us are. And as we've gotten to know each other better, interestingly, have started to appreciate some of the areas where he has weaknesses or hang-ups or limitations, okay? He really earnestly asked me, aren't I wrong in this whole approach to, I don't know, what do you call it, anti-hedonism? Anti-hedonism, depending on your accent. My whole approach to this kind of work ethic I have of, really looking at every minute of every day of your life and expecting it to be, in this sense, meaningful and productive, and rejecting video games and rejecting skiing and rejecting cocaine and all the rest of it, rejecting this whole category of excuse making that people get committed to. Because he asked the question instead in terms of this: isn't it possible for someone to be highly intelligent, someone to be brilliant even, and nevertheless enjoy doing stupid things sometimes? And I said to him, no. I very fundamentally believe that intelligence is something you're doing all the time. And you can't stop it even if you want to. When you're an intelligent person, you can't turn it off even when you sleep. And I challenged him with real-world examples. I said, you, Muhammad, today, could you sit down for 3 hours and watch football on television? And could you enjoy doing that? Like you could dress up in a costume and go to a soccer stadium and pretend to be a soccer fan. But I know you. I know you're not capable of sitting there and enjoying it. Even if you forced yourself to do this, you would be sitting there and thinking about Aristotle. Like you would be so completely detached from this game and what was exciting and interesting to other people. You just regard it like you were in a prison cell and set your mind to doing some other productive task, whether that's thinking about your work life or your personal life or philosophy or politics. I know this particular guy, and he immediately conceded the point. He said, yeah, that's true. He's like, no, I can't force myself to enjoy watching football. I can't do things. And let's not just say in the abstract, it's not just something normal people would enjoy. He has members of his family. He has, close friends and members of family who really do spend many hours watching sports. So I think most of us do. Most of us know people like that. It's like, no, the burden and the misery of really being a brilliant, intelligent person is that you can't turn it off. It's on all the time, all right? It infects and informs everything you do with your mind. And it's closed off to you forever to enjoy life in the way that stupid people do, right? And one of the notions that really corrupted my generation, growing up in Toronto in the time that I did, is the idea that you can enjoy these things ironically. Like you can sit there and tell yourself, oh, I'm too smart to enjoy watching this TV show, but I'm going to ironically sit here and enjoy it. No, homie. If you sit there and watch Seinfeld, if you sit there and watch 90 Day Fiancé, there is absolutely no sense in which you can tell yourself, I'm too good for this entertainment. You're being entertained by it, right? There's no sense in which you can snort cocaine and tell yourself, oh, well, I'm not like other crackheads. I'm better than other people who get high, because when I get high, I'm doing it ironically. Okay? And for me, that goes the whole way down your whole so-called spectrum. All right? What you call leisure activities, I mean, obviously, there's not everyone in the audience, but you and you and you, some of you in the audience, what you call leisure activities, I think you're coming to the wrong answers because fundamentally, you're asking the wrong questions. The question I'm asking is this activity something that's productive and educational and wholesome for me as an adult male intellectual? Is this something I'm going to learn and grow from? Or is this something ultimately toxic, self-destructive? Is it something leading to my betterment, or is it leading to my dissolution? And if you enjoy doing things that lead to your own dissolution, if you enjoy engaging in dissolute activities, if you enjoy consciously and intentionally engaging in self-destructive activities, if you think it's fun to waste your own time, then you really have to sit in the mirror and ask, what the fuck kind of person am I? And the answer is, you are the same type of person as the things that you do. If you spend your time sitting on the couch watching sports, you're no better than that. That's who you are. If you spend 12 hours a day playing Mario 64, that is who you are. There's no separate judgment. There's no special soul you have that's somehow untouched by the things you do with your mind and your body. You're not just the sum of your parts, you're less. You got so many days on this earth, so many hours in good health and with a clean mind. What are you going to do with it? If there's one less person sitting in the stands at that football game, if there's one empty seat, what goddamn difference is that going to make in the world? If one fewer person downloads that video game and clicks on a bunch of blinking gems today to make those gems disappear, what difference is that going to make in the world? All right? And now you tell me, what's the unique difference you could be making in the world if you stopped making these fucking excuses? If you took your whole goddamn spectrum of so-called pleasures, leisure activities, and self-indulgence and threw it the fuck away and asked you, what's the point of living for the next 5 years, next 10 years on this planet?